So, JC, you've leapfrogged through the weeks. You've had a couple of, I think, the last 5 weeks. You've been climbing up that ladder, sneaky and steady.
Yeah, I know it's strange. I've never been this consistent like throughout the weeks. Normally I'm kind of like up and down, but I think I've managed to put in a couple of good weeks.
Hmm.
Fun fact, this is my only week in the last month where I haven't had a hat-trick scorer. So that was fun. But
And
yeah,
probably the best week, like net gain wise, as
yeah,
well.
that was the funny thing. It kind of balanced each other out because I actually had shit weeks minus the hat trick. So like,
Yeah.
I think I kind of did a bit better here. But yeah, to be honest, it's actually pretty close. It's throughout our leagues. I don't think it's been quite this close. Like I think this has probably been the furthest it's all been between first and third. But
Hmm.
I think there's plenty of time in the season, isn't there?
Yeah, it's very tight. Like, I think in our mini league, Alex is first, and he thinks on what, 595? And then
I think he went past 600.
oh, you
now.
went past it. Okay.
Yeah.
Goddamn, Alex. Let's start with your team, JC. So your transfer last week was
So, wait, you laugh, but it actually helped me out quite a lot because, as you can see, I did Trent to Chilwell, but Chilwell played in the Champions League, and I think the couple of weeks before that in the Premier League. So, I think Potter just gave him a rest, the full 90 minutes, which kind of meant that Tony and Andres were allowed to come on. No, sorry, Tony and DS were allowed to come on, and they got some decent points off the bench for me. So that was really good. That was actually quite lucky because if I had Trent, I would have been 6 points down, but still a decent week. I wasn't on the last few podcasts, but a couple of weeks ago, I played my wild cards the same as Matt, and to decent effect. I think in previous years, I've kind of had really bad wild cards and kind of built it up from there. So in those kind of years, I kind of went with like the two um big assets. And this year I've kind of gone for one and kind of spread my money out a bit more with a lot of appealing aspects in a lot of teams in midfield and forward. I kind of felt like the only real hard on is the phrasing. The only real nailed on was Haaland. So I thought, this year, why not try and spread out my money? So I kind of went with Madison, who got that big haul a couple of weeks ago. Only got one this week, but still doing really good. Diaz was new to my team. I felt like he was one of Liverpool's better players, but unfortunately, he kind of started on the bench last week. Still got the assist. This week he started again, but only got the assist, but had to get wheeled off. Zaha, good fixtures, good to play. Martinelli kind of was never going to leave my team. He's just too good a value at that spot, right? Like we've discussed him loads. And then I think the only other ad I would probably want to point out is like Fabianski and Guaita as my two goalkeeper spots. We've kind of discussed like what we should do with strategy, and I've kind of gone with the Matt approach where you kind of pick two goalkeepers where you can rotate in and out. And with Leicester obviously having good results, I still don't 100% trust their defense, but
yeah.
Ward did get like an 8-point haul, I think, last week or this week
against Forest, yeah.
against Forest, yeah. But I'm still quite happy with my two goalkeepers. Fabianski got a clean sheet against Wolves, which is one of the main reasons why I played him. And I've got Guaita for the next couple of weeks. It's probably last week for Fabianski, but yeah, sitting good on 70 points, nearly at 500k. I've kind of climbed into that midway through the million mark, so I'm really happy with the team. I think not a lot of changes for me coming up, but yeah, still a lot to do.
This is pretty painful to look at because it's remarkably similar to my team.
I mean, that midfield,
there's one difference in midfield, but every single difference I'm looking at, Cancelo, Martinelli, Tony, they all kind of came in this weekend. and my ones didn't.
It's fine margins
it's-
this year,
Yeah, our teams are remarkably similar.
Mhm.
and they're all
Um,
doing quite well. Like that is the team to go for. Like most of them.
Yeah. It's been a lot like that so far this season. I wonder what's going to happen after the World Cup, if it's still going to be quite templatey or whether it opens up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, I think with the World Cup coming, I think there'll be that initial kind of drop off for the key players that are going to the World Cup, like a lot of English players, like French players, German players who are going to do like long runs. I feel like they'll probably not be in a lot of teams, especially because most of them are in like the top 6 teams, which obviously do the best. But
Yep.
it'd be interesting to see kind of where that template lies. I think for me, just initial like thinking, I think it's tough because I really want to stick to kind of a lot of those Newcastle, Brentford, Brighton players that probably won't be going to the World Cup, but still are in decent teams. But obviously, still like Haaland, Salah, they'll still be playing. I think Salah, will probably, hopefully, be back in form and play that second, like key asset that you want in your team, especially because I think how many weeks is it until you get like the second wild card? Like 8, isn't it?
After game week 16, you get the wild card. Well, you get the free transfers, and then you get wild
Free
card.
transfers over World Cup, and then you have one more. Is it just
One more wild card.
immediately?
Yeah, pretty much
Yeah.
after the break, into New Year.
So it starts in the new year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So another like short break. So again, you can probably take some risks. I think it's really interesting, just kind of what strategies you guys will be doing for the World Cup and how you guys approach it, because I think there'll be a lot of change come after England win their second World Cup.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think Salah's going to be the big one because for me, he's been someone that I sort of targeted as after World Cup. That's when I'm going to put him in. The longer this like run goes on where he's not really scoring or assisting, you're like, you need something. You need to see something from him to kind of to bank on him in that period after. Because right now, I just don't think you do go to him.
Not the way Liverpool are playing. I feel like
Nah.
they're really pushing him out wide. I prefer to get Luis Diaz because he's injured until after the World Cup now, I think.
Yeah, he's confirmed. He's confirmed to not be out.
So
not playing for the World Cup.
That'd be interesting whether he's available right after the World Cup, whether there's going to be a bit of time afterwards. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so let's go to my team. So this is the first game week, I think, that I have a net positive transfer. I took out Carson. I don't know why I ever had him in my team.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard to go down.
If I went down this week, I just quit. And I got Gaito, who was on my bench anyway, so the 3 points didn't really matter. But in my team, I think the big one, like when you're talking about when you make a team and then you got these kind of choices you make, and then that team becomes like a parallel choice. The big one for me is going Trent instead of Cancelo. Like on my wild card, I was debating Cancelo, Trent. I was like, I got Edison in goal. Maybe he could just cover some points, but this week I couldn't cover it. I think he was owned by 53%, and I was like 350k, and I'm 800k. And that's I was having green arrows like since game week 2, and Cancelo was like, enough of that, lad. You got it back down. But apart from that,
he's had a pretty quiet season so far, Cancelo, for the most part. City haven't been keeping quite as many clean sheets as we're perhaps used to, and the goal contributions haven't been there. This is just the 1 week, I guess, where it didn't pay off.
Yeah, he didn't seem to get it forward, and then last couple of weeks seems to be getting to the box now. I'm like, why Cancelo? Maybe because Walker injury? I'm not too sure. But in terms of rest of my team, I think Reece James is the one I'm crying over most. I'm cursing Reece James every day now. And I said, like, I think a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I would never pick Reece James, and I picked him.
I just think he's one of those guys. Like, if you're bringing him for short spells, you probably will be disappointed because it's hard to know when that optimum spell is with these top clubs. They rest and rotate quite a lot. I just think if you're going to keep him in your team for long term, you'll be rewarded for that. I just think he's one of those players you will get returns from him. They look defensively better under Graham Potter. So, you know, the points will come from him if you keep him in the team long enough, I think.
He's 100% going. Like,
Oh, is he going?
He's going not this week, but he's going very soon. I don't want him. I don't care if he hauls. I put him in for a few weeks. He had Wolves. Wolves was like a banker for clean sheets. I was like, James, you're gonna get me points finally, and he didn't do it. And now he's injured. I don't give a shit about him. So he's gone. I took it personally.
Yeah, you're taking it well.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I want to ask about you having Kane in your team, because I think a lot of people are and ahhing on having a lot of money up front. So you've gone Kane. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, is he doing well? Like, do you like him? Or...
Yeah, since bringing him in, I don't think he's blank for me. He's not like hauled massively like Haaland does, but I think he's second top scorer in FPL now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's actually quietly having a very good season.
Oh yeah,
it's not like last season where he just did nothing for kind of 6 months. Like he is, I think he's second top scorer in the league in terms of goals, and like you said, in terms of fantasy. So,
and in terms of choices, other choices I would have, it would be either spread the money around, but I can't really see like in my team where the obvious upgrades is, apart from Kevin De Bruyne and like another 8 million like Foden or Bowen and stuff like that. Yeah, De Bruyne is the one that was kind of ahhing between Kane, but there's too many City players, and I don't know what Kevin De Bruyne normally goes off like 70th minute. He'll probably get an assist, but will he be able to see the game throughout? Maybe get a couple of goals, because I quite like goals in midfielders, right? Because of the extra points. So that's why my decision was for Kane. Let's go to Matt. What changes you do last week?
Nothing. And maybe on reflection, that was a mistake. Judging by my haul. No, it was just a bad week. My Tarkowski prediction didn't come in. Man United actually played really well in that game, to be fair. You know, I thought Newcastle might grab that clean sheet. Doubling up on Newcastle is going to be painful when they do concede. Other than that, you know, midfield kind of had decent holes. I just didn't have any one player kind of go off. And I'm really I mean, Haaland goes off most weeks, but it's just not worth it because everyone's captained him. You're not gaining anything from that. You need at least one other guy to have a great week, which didn't quite happen. I've also gone for the Kane and Haaland. I've committed a lot of money up front because I just think those mid-range midfielders, those, you know, Maddison, Zaha's, I know Diaz is injured now, but I think those guys are great value because the top end guys, De Bruyne is obviously very, very good, but he can be quite streaky in FPL terms. Obviously Salah's not doing anything, Son's not really doing anything, so I think that's where the value is in midfield. Those even the premium defenders, you know, Chiron's having mental breakdowns over Reece James every other week, and you know, all right, Cancelo came in this week, but you know, Trent's not really doing it either. So I think up front is where the best place is, the safest place to commit the funds. You know, Kane and Haaland are getting the goals. I've got no issues with those guys.
The strikers world at the moment, I think.
Yeah.
5 strikers in the top 10 FPL points at the moment.
Yeah, isn't it so funny that last year, like if we wanted to play like 0 strikers, we probably would have chosen that. But now this year, like it's hard to pick 3 that you obviously like. Haaland's dead set in every team, but the other 2 spots, there's actually a lot of choice there, and I think that's where kind of you'll see a lot of the differentials come in, because, you know, 1 week it could be like Tony, the next week it could be like Callum Wilson or Ishk or whoever. Like Solanke did really well. Like, I think it's really good to see the resurgence of forwards, because it just makes the game so much more compelling.
Yeah, and it just shows that year to year, you don't know what you're going to get. You know, for a long time, you know, midfielders kind of ruled. Last year, you had like defenders really being the crucial players, and now it's gone back to the strikers as probably the early days of FPL it would have been. So I just think these things are kind of roundabout, you know, year to year will kind of change.
Maybe next year goalkeepers.
And like even maybe month to month, it might change. You know, you might have a couple of those premium midfielders suddenly start to go off week after week, and suddenly you've got to make a decision between midfielders or forwards. You know, or Trent starts going off, or, you know, City start getting clean sheets every other week. Like, it's fluid. You got to keep up.
Regarding your team, like the question marks I have on your team, obviously Lewis G aside, is Tarkowski and Gordon. Are you still have faith in Lampard at Everton?
Yeah, it wasn't just a spur of the moment with those guys. They have decent fixtures in the run up to the World Cup. For the most part, obviously, because Arsenal played Liverpool, Gabriel was left on the bench. Most weeks he's going to be starting. You know, him and Trippier are the nailed ones, and then it's going to be a sort of fixture kind of selection. So I've got enough kind of nailed ones, and then I've just got a few week to week options that I can kind of switch between. But yeah, Gordon's suspended, so that's not ideal.
You know,
why did he get suspended? Did he get
yellow card?
Five yellows.
Madison's got one more. Man's got one more yellow, and he's on a suspension as well, which will really kill me. All right, let's talk.
Don't take yellow cards enough into it. I remember once upon a time, Fellaini used to wind me up when he used to play for Everton, because he'd either get a goal or he'd get a booking. You know, then no in between.
He was that kind of character, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at these game week matches. Is there any in terms of FPL that kind of stands out to you guys? For me, it's the City Liverpool, because I looked at the last, I think, 8 matches, and there'd be at least 4 goals apart from one match. So you might expect like cagey big matches, but
and I think it will be what we normally see from Liverpool City. I know Liverpool aren't in the best of form. I just think this is a kind of game that, you know, if Liverpool can't get up for this game, there's not much hope for them this season. Like, you know, this is Manchester City. This is the best team in the league. You at home to them, at Aurora and Anfield, you've got to turn up and you've got to put a performance in there. So FPL wise, it's tricky, because the question will be, is this the week where you take a risk of not captaining Haaland? Because you think, well, Liverpool, you know, will he find it tougher in that game? Would you go for maybe an Arsenal one in a game against Leeds or anything like that? It's worth a question. I'm not inside. I don't think I would stray away from Haaland, but I think it's worth a question just for that differential, especially at a time when especially in our league, there's a huge template going, and these sort of captaincy picks, you know, that could separate you.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point. We don't really talk about captaincy here in the last couple of weeks or since we started, but
there's been no need.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. Yeah, there's been no need. But like, on your point, like, I just think it's too much. It's like too much of a risk to not captain Haaland. Like, there's always that opportunity for him to score 2 or 3 goals. And I remember last week, not last week, but the week before that, where a lot of people went Salah against Brighton as opposed to Haaland against United, and that for a lot of Salah captains, that was a harsh result that kind of backfired on them, even though kind of the fixtures it looked a bit better.
Yeah, well, it was their own fault. I don't know what they'd seen from Salah that would suggest he was going to do that this season. You know, he didn't haul in the 9-0.
True.
You know, I get it though. I do get it, because I think maybe it's a bit early in the season to be making those sort of, you know, wild sort of differential picks. But you know,
I just think that like early on in the season, just like do your best with your captain, just keep pace with everyone, and then choose it, and just make sure that you get kind of like, if you're going to do risks, do it slightly later on when you actually need to, because like as we saw like last week and the week before, there isn't that much between 1.5 and 6. Like there isn't. So like just try and hedge your bets. Like for me, I'm captaining Haaland in everything except for game week 12 where they don't have a game. So
that's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good
yeah,
week
that's true.
Yeah,
actually make a decision, and I think obviously it stands to reason that Haaland's probably going to be the triple captain option.
Oh yeah.
Whenever City get that double, because some people have already used it, which I get it. He's in form. He's banging in goals. Double game weeks, you can't even guarantee that someone's going to play both games of a double game.
Still remember when I had Mane as a triple captain, double game week, and he was like red hot form, and he got injured in 2 minutes, and he didn't play the second game week, so I got 3 points.
Yeah, so that's always the risk, right? And I know some people have bit the bullet early. I just think that the double game week's safer. You just have to go with that. And I remember that one Harry Kane a few years ago scored like seven goals in a double game week one time. So they can come in big time if you get it right.
Mm-hmm. On your point of, oh sorry, Jason, go for it.
Oh no, I was gonna you go. I was gonna talk about another game.
I was gonna say, in terms of Man City Liverpool, like even though it's Haaland and it's against Liverpool are quite weak. You know, they've lost Trent. I know he's not a great defense. They've lost Matip. I think Thiago's iffy. I think Henderson's a bit iffy. They've lost like half that kind of defensive unit already, and they're already not in good form. I think it's going to be kind of. I know Liverpool can get out for it. The only way they're going to get out for it is to attack, but that'll just expose them to Haaland, who loves transitions. The only other captain I was thinking, but I was never going to do, is probably Kane at home to Everton. It's still a bit tricky fixture, but no one else jumps the eye for me.
Yeah, it's tricky because Everton have been sort of okay defensively, a lot better than we would have thought at the start of the season. And by the same token, Spurs have been a little bit disappointing going forward. They haven't really scored the goals that we thought they would score. So that's a bit of a nightmare kind of combination coming together for a captaincy option. But you're right, there's nothing else that really jumps out. You know, Leeds do have the potential to concede in a lot some weeks, but they're quite frisky. I quite like their team. I think they can cause teams problems. They're frisky, yeah. That's the best way to describe them.
Frisky.
Let's talk about your frisky team selection and that. What are your transfers?
Well, I've brought in Koulibaly and Saka, Trent and Diaz, Liverpool duo, out for obvious reasons. They're both injured. And I'm kind of disappointed in myself for going away from Saka. I should have just stuck with Starboy. You know, he's so good. He's so consistent for Arsenal. I was saying throughout those early weeks when he wasn't really getting returns that he's the nailed on guy. Martinelli can turn up and like really go off on certain weeks, like he did this weekend. Yeah. But he can be a bit more streaky. I'm always more trusting in Saka week to week. So the reason I took him out was because of that blank that's coming up. But I just think the form that Arsenal are in, I just think, you know, worst case, I'll just sit him on the bench for that 1 week because they're absolutely flying at the moment, and he's penalty taker for Arsenal as well, which is pretty key.
And the good thing is, like, Leeds already a team that concedes a lot, and then after the break, after their like no game next week. You have Southampton, not Wolves and West Ham the next 5 after that. So it's obviously someone you can like just stay in just before the World Cup and don't have to worry about it. And to be honest, a lot of people have like 3 of either Arsenal or City players. So I imagine lots of players will be doing the exact same thing, just benching their Arsenal and City assets.
Yeah,
Who
maybe.
have you on the bench? Just to cover.
I've got Nico Williams, Tarkovsky, and Gordon, who is obviously not going to play, so he's
okay.
Right, but I've got Gaeta as well. It was semi-tough actually, the goalkeeper selection this week, because neither are particularly optimal. Palace, Leicester away. We know Leicester can score goals.
Mm-hmm.
They have issues at the other end, but scoring goals isn't too much of a problem for them. I kind of trust Newcastle more against United, but even United are in pretty good form. I think they'll do well to get a clean sheet at Old Trafford, but I think that's the better pick of the two.
Yeah, I can see why you would say that, to be fair. Like, let's say against Crystal Palace, who was it against?
Crystal Palace playing Leicester.
Leicester, Crystal Palace, yeah.
I don't expect Crystal Palace to play very defensive. I think they'll go for it, right? So there'll be space. Mm-hmm. While Newcastle, Man United will be like probably cagey. Definitely cagey because Newcastle.
Yeah, and Newcastle have been very good defensively this season. Koulibaly I like bringing in. He should play most weeks. And Chelsea is a bit risky at the moment because Graham Potter is sort of changing it up quite a lot. I think he's trying to work out, what his team is, what guys he can trust where, blah, blah, blah. So there's going to be a lot of chopping and changing. But Koulibaly feels safe-ish and they look better defensively. I think they're going to pick up clean sheets, Chelsea.
Has he started all the games?
No, I think there was a period where he was, but I don't know if he was injured or if he was just out of favour because he came in and he looked really good. And then it went a bit quiet on him. I think he had a bad game and Chelsea's form sort of dovetailed a little.
Lovely. Let's see what my transfers were. My transfer was a very exciting one. I got rid of Trent for Shaw, and now Shaw's on my bench. So this is more of a plan to because I knew Trent, he's got injured, but even before he got injured, I transferred him out. I think before I knew he was going to be injured for long term. It's just get some money. I think I got 3 million in the bank now, and then Shaw and Trippier will come against Everton in game week 12. So it's more of a setup for game week 12. In terms of the rest of my team, definitely going Haaland captain. This is the week where I hope Trossard repays his favour this week and next week. He's got Nottingham Forest as well next week, so because I missed out his hat trick. We haven't talked about Mitrovic. I don't know anyone knows about his injury. Is he coming back or?
I think I heard he was in training, but who knows? I was surprised he missed out entirely last weekend because I thought he would at least be on the bench as a sort of super sub option or something, but who knows? But you have to put him in that slot.
Yeah.
Because if he starts, there's a good chance he'll score.
Especially against Bournemouth, right?
Yeah, that's what I've done as well.
And the other one choice I've made is this is probably the only week I'll ever do it. Is I started Nico Williams. I might change my mind at the end, but just because Wolves can't buy a goal, I feel like this has to be Nottingham Forest's day. But it could be a risky one. But I feel like Newcastle will concede against Man United at least one goal. So I thought I'd take the chance this one.
Forest Wolves is going to be quite a game. It's a team that really doesn't want to score goals against a team that really loves to concede them. So it'd be interesting to see how that combination matches up.
I don't know if having Trippier on your bench is like the best idea against United, to be honest. Like I just
always I think Trippier is a fairly safe sort of set and forget kind of option where you just have him every week just because of that set piece threat.
Exactly.
Do you think it might come in for James depending on James's injury? He might miss out anyway. So
no, he won't because he will. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Well, if you're starting Reece James, there's a good chance that he'll play about 10 minutes and get a point for you. So.
Oh no, I think that'll be changed. I saw Reece James in the picture. I'm like, it's okay. that conundrum's solved now. There you go. Trippier's in.
Oh,
Oh, so you're actually going to put Trippier in?
Yeah, because James is. I think he was injured, and I think he's only going to be training tomorrow. So I'm not going to take the risk. I don't care about
Okay.
James. I don't care if you horse. I won't cry.
Okay.
Let's go for your team, JC.
Moving on. Yeah, so for me, I think I'll have a. So for some reason, I don't know how this happened, but I ended up with like 3 Chelsea defenders. And Fofana, I got on my wild card, and he hasn't played yet because he got injured straight away, and he didn't start the Wolves game. So I didn't even get him. I didn't even get points from him, and he's immediately got injured in Champions League. So that's a bit frustrating.
It shouldn't be too serious with Fofana. I think he's going to be a couple of weeks max. So
yeah, agreed.
Still an interesting decision.
It's frustrating because it was more for the Wolves game. Like that's what it was for.
Yeah.
Like I wanted those double Wolves points because I knew it was going to happen. Like,
and none of them started, correct?
Yeah, none of them started. Yeah,
that's pretty incredible to pick 3 Chelsea defenders
out of 5.
Yeah, wow.
And not get any. Yeah, I know. I don't know. Anyway, moving
if you
on.
were right, they got a clean sheet.
Just the wrong fucking players. The funny thing is just like I had Cucurella, and like at the start of the season, he didn't really do that much. I thought I might go with Chilwell because at least you get the attacking threat. None of them started, but anyway. So I think for me, I'll have probably Fabianski against the Southampton game. Crystal Palace, I'm just looking at now. They have Leicester. I'm almost 100% sure they'll concede. I think the only change I'll do with my one transfer is Diaz, because obviously he's out until after the World Cup, and I've kind of put Trossard here because the next 2 games are pretty good. They've got Brentford and I can't remember the other one, Nottingham. So that's also a good choice, but I think for me Trossard is
Am I right in saying that that's your midfield cheer on? Exactly. Yeah.
JC's got my midfield, and then Matt's got my strike force.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Good stuff.
But like Trossard is kind of just a substitute for any kind of roughly 9.5 million midfielder. It's really hard to choose this week because I'm kind of looking at teams that have good games in the next 2 to cover me for the City Arsenal not playing. So I already have people that I already want. So it's kind of good to bad that I kind of need a player, but I'm not 100% sure who I want. Like Foden would be a good choice, but that means I would definitely not have 11 players next week. So that's a bit harsh.
Mm-hmm.
Rashford obviously in good form. Grobe we were talking about a couple of times. So yeah, it could be Trossard, but it could be anyone in that midfield up to 9.5, which is actually a good amount.
It's a hard one, that midfield choice. It's a real wild card of it.
Yeah, because I think in terms of mid-range options right now, Maddison and Zaha are probably the best ones. Just fixtures and form for the pair of them. Martinelli, you've already got. You
don't want the Arsenal City.
No, there's no point. Yeah,
and they're the 2 informed teams. So yeah, so it is a hard one.
It is pretty tricky. Diaz was a good option, I thought.
Yeah.
Prior to that, and now he's injured. So
would you roll?
I mean, he would have stayed. Me?
Yeah.
Roll.
Would you roll? Get 2
now?
transfers? Yeah.
No, I can't, because I don't trust James or Mitrovic. I'm pretty sure at least one of them will be on the bench, and I don't kind of want a 1-pointer. So I just don't see the point of keeping Diaz, to be honest. The way I see it, his value can only drop from now. But yeah. The player I actually wanted was Mount, and for the longest time, FPL wouldn't let me transfer him in, and I was like, "Why won't you fucking let me transfer Mount in? I want Mount. He's got good games." And I realized I had 3 fucking Chelsea defenders, but he would have been my preference, but obviously I can't get him. So yeah, I think that's me. The only other thing I have to decide is whether or not I play Tony against Brighton. And I'm like literally 50-50, because
tricky.
At any given point he could score a good couple of goals, but I could also see him do nothing and even get a yellow card. So
yeah, and Brighton are a good team defensively, and that looks to still be fairly consistent under the new manager coming, De Zerbi. So Yeah, he's not nailed, to say the least.
Both because he's a penalty taker and a very good penalty taker as well, right? I think he's only missed one, so he's always.
I mean, looking at those Chelsea defenders, there's a good chance that at least two of them may be missing out. So you might just end up with Tony in the starting lineup anyway.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
No choice for you. No choice for you.
Here I come.
Anyway, guys, that was our FPL rundown. Wish you green arrows. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
No green hours for you.
Wow.